All right, good afternoon. Thank y'all for being here. 1-0 in Big 12. Really a quality win over well-coached, good football team. And I think their record at the end of the year will match that. Proud of how our guys fought. Thought they competed really hard. Wasn't perfect, but we did enough to win the game, and we showed improvement from the previous week. Kind of recap the game real quick, and I'll say this. Usually go through the awards and stuff. We gave everybody the day off yesterday, so we just came in this morning, not actually meeting with our players till this afternoon, so I'll hold off on that. But kind of recap the game. Special teams, go over the things we got to improve on first and things that didn't go as well as we'd like. We had a great opportunity to block a punt. We missed that. And then our last two punts of the game. I think Ollie's been really good all year. He was, and I'll talk about his good here in a second, but the two punts at the end of the game weren't good enough. And then we had one really kickoff return where we really had numbers and we just didn't execute blocks on the one that they gave us a chance to return. So that was disappointing. The positives on special teams, and we won the field position battle. We had two punts inside the 10, and both those were stops. One of them, we played really quality football. We had a punt. We pinned them on the 3. Aiden Garnes made a nice play. We held them. We had a good punt return, and then we scored a touchdown right before half and really played good complementary football. Michael Hayes has been really good for us. He's been consistent all year field goal wise. He made a big one in the game on Saturday. I think it's 41 yards he made, but I thought his kickoffs, and he did this at the end of the game versus Pitt. We talk here a lot about you got to be at your best when your best is required, and versus Pitt on kickoffs, and then versus Kansas on Saturday, he was at his best when his best was required. And then we had an explosive punt return. That's something Rod's really worked on over the last year and a half is punt returning, and he's our and he'll do that when Preston's done, but. Thought he stepped up, had an explosive return, did a quality job on that. We blocked that well. And then our punt and our kickoff coverage has been really good all year, continues to be. Thought we made some big-time plays on kickoff. Ben Cutter had an explosive hit on a kickoff. Torres Simmons made an unbelievable play on the last kickoff that they fielded. He took the double team and ran the double team all the way into the returner, made the tackle on the 18-yard line. Just incredible play by him. Defensively, we were scrambling a little bit with injuries. At some key positions. The things that we got to do better is our rush defense. We talked about this after the game. You kind of pick your poison, right? And the thing about our rush defense, and that's a really good running team. Like they're going to run the football versus most people they play. We can't give up that many yards though, and really the good thing about that is it's fixable. We've got to play blocks better. We were down in the middle too much in the run game. We got to play our gap leverage, and we got to use our hands more effectively. And then the other thing is we got to be much better at end of possession downs. We gave third downs, they had too much success. The positives is I thought our guys on defense really bounced back. We had 2 takeaways, which were critical by Tyron Bradley. I thought we finished strong. So 5 drives at the end of the game, we got off the field on 4 of those, either by the turnover on the last drive or forcing 3 punts. So only 1 score in the last 5 drives of the game. We minimized their explosive pass plays, and we got pressure on the quarterback, and we created TFLs. I think we did a much better job containing the quarterback. If you look at Jalen Daniels' rush numbers, and he's the best running quarterback we've played, but we did the best job of containing him, and it's more of a just staying in our lanes and doing what we're coached to do. I thought Tyron Bradley, obviously, he'll be rewarded, or he should be, by the Big 12. He had a tremendous game, showed up on the stat sheet, but I thought Fatorma played his best game as a Mountaineer. Sean Martin had a really nice game. Anthony Wilson has played well all year, probably our most improved player, and then Josiah Trotter made a lot of plays for us on defense. TJ Jackson as well. He continues to be productive up front. Moving over to offense, the negatives, two turnovers, and on one of the really on the first pick, I thought that was clearly pass interference, and watched it over and over, and it is pass interference. But the other one, we had an explosive pass play, and we get hit as we're throwing. We got to do better in that. And we just didn't execute in the run game as well as we needed to. You know, we weren't bad in the run game, but we weren't up to our standards and up to our expectations, how we plan on running it. And it's fundamental stuff. We're crossing over too much. We're not getting on our IDs are right. We're just not finishing. And it's a team run issue. It's not the O-line. It's not the tight ends. It's receivers. Sometimes it's running backs got to win one-on-ones. We just got to be better in the run game. The positives are we had a bunch of explosive plays. We finished strong. I think we had 3 touchdowns in our 2-minute offense. Really good on end of possession downs. Garrett, he's got to be more efficient throwing the ball, but man, he made a bunch of plays, and he made a bunch of plays at winning time. Wyatt played really well. Hudson Clement played his best game probably in his career. I thought he played at a high level, won a lot versus man coverage. He was productive, but he even won more. The ball didn't get to him. Traylon Ray played well. And then Traylon Davis is a guy that's really played well for us all year. You know, he's not going to show up in the stat sheets a lot, but he's played really well. So that's kind of the recap. You know, y'all, I'll take questions. I hadn't even looked at Oklahoma State, but a little bit this morning, so I would hold off on those because you're going to get some I don't knows. But anything as far as how we're handling the bye week, I should say too, is just meeting today. We'll practice Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Coaches will be on the road recruiting on Friday, some on Saturday, and then we'll practice on Sunday, and Monday will be our off day next week. So that's kind of how we're handling the week. So, questions, Greg?
So, start with injuries. Obviously, you had a lot of guys beaten up this past game. So, yep. What's the injury situation?
Yeah, so hopeful that we'll have everybody back. You know, on a couple of the upper body injuries, you just got to wait and see how the first few days go post. And so, but hopeful. Other than some of the head stuff, I feel confident everybody else will be back.
Pass coverage, you mentioned you changed some things up schematically and personnel-wise. So evaluating that, did you think you did well there?
Well, we did better. You know, I don't think we've arrived by any means, but we did better. You know, I thought Jacoby, first significant playing time of the year, made 2 critical errors, but the ball didn't find him a whole lot. And I thought he did some good things fundamentally, but he made 2 critical errors that he can't have. Crandall, up until when he got hurt, he's got to recognize some personnel things. You know, you got to play it a little bit different when you got tight ends compared to when you have receivers, just from speed. But I thought he played some quality snaps. And then, you know, we kind of got really wanted to play Aiden Garnes mostly at corner. He ended up playing the nickel, and I forget somebody asked about this post game. But we had to play him a lot more inside there than we wanted to. He did some good things, but he also showed that he hadn't played in there a whole lot, you know. So, but I thought from a schematic standpoint, we did a better job in the secondary. Now, where we got hit on some balls that we shouldn't have, especially on third down, is our underneath coverage. You know, our linebackers didn't play the pass very well. So we got to do a better job on those underneath stuff. That's where we got hit on some third and mediums, not necessarily corner or safety responsibility, but linebacker responsibility. We got to play better there. But we executed our base coverages, quarters, you know, some cover 3 stuff with our pressures. We executed that at a much higher level.
Just curious, walk me through your mindset there. 5:39, the convoy goes past you for the touchdown. You're down 11. You got to thread the needle and extend the game. Just walk me through the anatomy of a comeback here.
Yeah, so, the reverse really directly ran right in front of me. Yeah, and when Ty let the ball get outside of him, it was over. You know, that was our edge of our defense, and he didn't play that very well. But so you go into you know you got to play for 2 possessions, and so you immediately have to go into a 2-minute mindset, even though there's 5 minutes and change, because we had all our timeouts. So immediately scored. I tell Garrett, I tell our guys, hey, we're in 2-minute mode, and we're going to go for 2. So when we score, we'll go for 2 on this drive. And it's important to let those guys know. So when you score, they know immediately to get in our huddle and be ready for the next play. And so we had not ran the ball on the opening drive after the lightning delay. We had two really good plays that we didn't fit up very well. And so I knew we wanted to get in to kind of some spread stuff, and either he was going to complete passes or he was going to run around, and we were going to hit some scrambles, and because they were having issues with that, right? And they were playing a little bit more man coverage than I thought. And so if they were going to play man, okay, then they don't have very many eyes on the quarterback. So we go into 2-minute. We had two nice third down conversions on that drive. We hit the 2-point play, even though it should have hit a lot earlier. We end up, Traylon did throw it on the – and then you go into – and this is where, practice is effective for the coaching staff as much as it is for players. So we had 3 minutes and some change left there with 3 timeouts. But you really have 4 because you now have the 2-minute timeout. So what you do is you really don't want to start using your timeouts until around 2.5 minutes. And so we didn't use they ran it on first. We didn't use it. They ran it on second. It's 3rd and 4. You use it because even worst case scenario, they get it. You still should get the ball back if you can hold it. And so we end up only having to use, because we got the stop on 3rd down, we used the timeout again, and then we essentially had 2 timeouts because of 2 minutes. So when you get the ball back on offense, and we sold out too. Let me go back. And so on the 3rd and 4 play, we sold out. We played zero coverage, and we came because in my opinion, you play that like it's a one-play game. Now, if they get it, you still have time to adjust, but you play that like it's the play to win the game. And I thought we did. Like there's some if you go back and look at that 3rd and 4 stop, Anthony Wilson, Sean Martin, we had some great singular effort plays on that. But you get the ball back. I think it was 2:06 if my mind's running right, or it may have been 2:20 something. I can't remember. Yeah, because I was trying to run a second play and I couldn't get Traylon lined up fast enough. But my message to the quarterback was, okay, hey, we're playing for a touchdown. All right, now we need to get the ball inside the 25, but we're playing for a touchdown, and we're not going to force anything, and we're not in a super hurry. We got time. And so that's and then we went down and scored. Where you get into, it's a little bit hairy, so I think there was 31 seconds on the last play for us. Where it gets a little hairy is we didn't have any timeouts because we had to use a timeout on a run where Garrett didn't get any yardage. Where it gets a little hairy is about 16 or 18 seconds is all the time you can run a field goal team out. So that's where, even though you had 31 seconds, we probably had one more play after. If that play was incomplete to Rod, you probably only have one more play before you have to run your field goal team out there. So that answer your question. I know that was I tried to play through. Yeah, I tried to play through that. So
speaking of Rodney, actually, you basically made him just an offensive player in this game because of the circumstances. What's the mentality with him moving forward, with him stepping up so much in this past game? More reps there for him, less on defense, still splitting time.
So, no, I think we'll get back this week and start working back on defense. He's going to play offense too. I mean, he's done a nice job with the ball in his hands. He did it. He had 2 nice runs, had a great punt return, and then he did some really good things. And I was proud because he's really been unselfish, and he was rewarded by that with a game winning catch there. So. But we'll get him back in the mix defensively this week, and with the expectation we'll get some of our receivers back too.
So this time of year always seems like a good time to get a breakdown on the true freshmen. Mm-hmm. Not just the guys that are playing, but maybe some of those that.
Yeah, anybody in particular you want to ask about?
Hey, just run through anybody you want to talk about.
Yeah, I think that we got to see if some guys are ready. I think this is a big week to test some guys out. Secondary wise, Keon Washington and Israel Boyce, those are 2 that we need to get a really long look at this week because I see them getting better, and I think they can help us. So those are 2 that from a defensive back standpoint that jump out. And then we've got to get this week too is, between Travion Dunbar and Dior Hubbard, we need to get those guys work because I can see us needing them as we get going. And they're both talented enough. They just got to do other things other than carrying the ball, whether that's pass protection, lead blocking, any of that type of stuff. And then we got to get, like, Elijah Kinsler's a guy that we're going to need as the year goes on, and so we need him to continue to improve. Nate Gabriel's playing a lot. He'll continue to play. His role will continue to increase. Day-to-day, we haven't been able to get going. He needs to practice a little bit higher level, but he's talented. He's a guy that can help us, and we need to do that. But those are kind of the main guys. Now we're going to get a lot of work. So when we come in here next Monday, that's probably a better question as far as like who played well, because those guys will scrimmage Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They won't all be full tackle, but there will be a lot of 11-on-11 work all 3 days, and so I can give you a kind of who stood out during that time.
So even guys that made redshirt this year, so Wilkin, and I mean, just how many of those are jumping out at you? What do you think of some of them?
Yeah, so I'll just start. We can start at quarterback. I think that Khalil is super talented, and he has some wow plays that go both ways. Like wow, that's really good, or wow, that's really bad. And so, but he's really talented, and so there's going to have to be some patience there, as far as getting him fundamentally where he needs to be and getting him where he understands kind of what defenses are going to do. But he can really run, and he's going to be a problem, and he's a problem for our defense because he runs a scout team, and he's a problem. And he's really talented. We just got to get him honed in, and it's really a learning. And we knew there was going to be a learning period for him. It wasn't going to be immediate. But from a talent perspective, he's an absolutely. Like he's got talent. I think at receiver, Brandon Raymond is a guy that is he's going to be a really good player. Dom Collins is fast, just like you thought. He's got to learn how to play the position, but both those are going to be solid players for us. We talked about the running backs. Jen Ross is a guy that doesn't have a red shirt, but it's been a big jump in level of play for him. Now he's really talented, and he would be Cole's backup, really, from a pass receiving threat. And I could see him, the more he gets comfortable, being able to help us later in the year. The O-linemen need some time, but those guys I feel good about them from an athletic standpoint. I think those guys are going to be able to play here. Linebackers, both of those guys, Curtis Jones playing for us on special teams. Ricky missed a lot of preseason, but Ricky Williams is going to be a high-level player here. He gets downhill. He's big, he's strong. I like what he's doing. And then the other DBs, like Keyshawn Robinson, is going to help us on special teams. Like he's played some on special teams. We'll probably continue to use him on special teams. And I already talked about the other guys. Anybody else in particular that you want to know about?
D-line-wise?
Zay Jennings is going to be a good player. He's just got to learn how to play on defense. Yeah. He's really good on special teams. He's a difference maker on kickoff. D-line-wise, let's see here. Byerson's going to be a really good player. He's battling through an injury right now, and he's getting used in a different way. He's going to redshirt, but he's a hit in recruiting for sure.
One more, Samarco.
Yep, Samarco's playing. He's playing. Probably been a pleasant surprise out of that class. Really, he's a above average blocker right now, and as he gets more reps, I think he's going to be a really good blocker for us as it goes on. He's got good hands. He's just not a real fast guy, but really pleasantly surprised that he's able to help us right now.
You take us through the evolution of yourself as a play caller since you retook the duties. Also, how do you rate yourself, gambler or conservative, or your approach to it? And third, the 2-point conversion play. Where did that come from, and what was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, so let's start with the last one. You asked me a lot of questions there in a row, Bob. So let me. I'll try to work from the back forward. The 2-point play is a good play. It's a look off a play we run a lot. we've hit that 4 or 5 times, and so that's where that came from. It's a good. I like 2-point plays where you have multiple options, whether it's your quarterback has a run pass option, or somebody else has a run pass option, and there's a run pass option there. You know, Traylon's basically going to be the runner until he's not, and so that's kind of the thought on that play. You know, I don't know, like I think that's, you know, the question you asked me about gambler concern, I think that's all in the eyes of the beholder. You know, I think we're pretty aggressive as far as going for it on 4th down. We've been, in the last 2 years, we've been right at the tops in the country, you know, if in the mix there, in the top 10 for sure, and explosive passes. You know, so I think that takes some courage to call those. We are run-based, so we probably, you know, I think sometimes our fans probably don't understand like a 2-thought process on 3rd down. You know, we're going to run the ball a lot on 3rd down, and the reason is because we go for it on 4th. You know, and sometimes you get it on 3rd when you run it. Sometimes you go for it on 4th. You know, but it's a lot of times there's a two down thought process in that. You know, I really haven't, to answer your first question, like evolution as a play caller, I haven't really stopped and thought about that. You know, I think that each game's different, you know, of how you call it. I think some of it has to do with your personnel, some of it has to do with the defensive personnel. There's a lot more to think through when you're the head coach calling the game, because you know kind of what your strengths and weaknesses are on defense as well. And so am I different than when I was a coordinator? Probably, just because I'm thinking more from a whole team perspective, and I'm older. You know, like I think you get a little wiser the older you get most of the time. You can tell me better than that, but most of the time. Most of the time. So I don't know if that answers you, but that's how we're different, and we're different probably because what we have personnel wise. I don't know if it's different because anything philosophically. It's just we're doing what gives our guys the best opportunity to execute right now.
On the break play, you say he takes the ball, he's a runner, and
He's a runner until he's made the throw.
he almost made it to the sideline there.
Huh? Yeah, he could have. Yeah, he could. He probably should have thrown it a little early, but it worked out. So Cole made a great catch on that. Really, I mean, kind of a play that probably is not talked about enough is that's a really difficult catch that Cole Taylor made there.
Off of what Bob said, though, how do you deal with the unpredictability of your quarterback? I mean, you want things to be some of his best plays aren't drawn up the way you plan it, and then some of the bad things that happen. How do you deal with
I think there's good and bad with that.
Yeah.
You know, and so as a play caller, like especially in that game on Saturday, you kind of get a feel of – I felt like our best opportunity is just to spread them out and use plays where it's basically 1-2 run. Now, that's not always the best, and so you allow him to be who he is. Now, there's some things that he does that are really frustrating to me, but he also does some things that, like, I'm not coaching him. Like, I can't coach. You know, like I can't coach him to break tackles. You know, I'm not there's some things. So I think it's give and take. So I don't get, like, really frustrated. You know what I mean? Like, I don't outwardly get frustrated. Like, when we decide to do some things, like, I know there's going to be some latitude taken by him. And so, like, I just got to be okay with it. You know, like, we got in that 2-minute mode the other day, and I'm like, hey, you know, this is what we're going to run. And if you pull down and run, that's fine. Just get your eyes where they're supposed to be, you know. And the kid makes plays. He's a playmaker that can continue to be better as a passer.
The message to Garrett and the coaches, let's figure out how to make Garrett the best version of himself as opposed to being the best quarterback.
Nah, you know, he does some things like if he would consistently do what he's supposed to do with his feet, he would be at a higher completion percentage. And so from a coaching perspective, look, I'm good if he's going to run around. I'm fine with all that. But when the play's in the pocket, let's be fundamentally sound. And so that's what he's got to get better at. Now, he throws the deep ball extremely well. You know, I'm talking about all kinds of different types of deep balls. He throws those really well. But he's got to, in rhythm throws, he's got to make sure his base stays the way it should be.
Do you think your assessment there, Garrett, could you say that about a lot of quarterbacks in today's game? I mean,
Yeah, no doubt. That's what the game is not. I think sometimes people want to really, hey, this is what high-level quarterback play is. This is like, to me, like it's about scoring points. Are you scoring points? Are you moving the ball? Are you moving the chains? You know, and so like Garrett does it very similar to like watching Lamar Jackson yesterday. You know, and I'm not comparing Garrett to Lamar. I'm just saying though, like Lamar Jackson, probably the best running quarterback ever in the NFL, and he does it different than the guy that was calling the game in Brady, right? But Lamar Jackson still pretty special, you know, and so there's, as the game continues to evolve, I just think the quarterbacks have a lot more freedom, and like I'm comfortable with some of the uncomfortableness of just like playing backyard ball sometimes.
the game evolved in some part though because, I mean, there's just not many. I don't know. I'm an old guy. There's not many Dan Marinos around anymore.
Yeah, well,
You know what I mean? The quarterbacks are different now, so the
quarterbacks are different. Coverages are much more complicated too. You know, like there's a lot more like matchup, kind of like, use a basketball term, like a matchup zone. People, you know, and people are confusing the quarterbacks. It's harder to play that position. There's better athletes rushing, you know. So like, but I think that going back to what John was asking is what we did on Saturday always going to be the answer? I would say probably not. But on Saturday it was the best answer because we just spread them out, and we got some guys in some favorable one-on-ones, and we opened up a lot of running lanes for him when he wanted to pull down and run.
In that regard, you said this is hard to do after the game, but is it tempting not to just spread it out and run 2-minute all the time, considering the success you have with that when you do it?
Yeah. So if you do that all the time, you make it really, really hard on your defense, first of all. Okay. The second thing is if you're going to do that all the time, then people are working that all the time. When people are going to line up and play us, that's not the first thing they're working on. They're working on, all right, how they're going to play our run game concepts and how they're going to play the quarterback run stuff. That's the first things they're thinking about. And then how do you stop shot plays? That's what people that line up and play us right now are. Now, they probably get to the 2-minute stuff later in the week, but at the very start, they're going to go, all right, how are we going to limit the run game? Like, how are we going to play all the quarterback stuff? And then how do we keep the ball in front of us on shot plays? Without a doubt, that's what people are thinking about. And so if you do that all the time, then people, you know, because there's some cat and mouse stuff that you can do that makes it really hard. And then you're putting your O-line in a really tough spot, you know.
But now you have a bye week coming up, obviously. Is there anything that makes this schedule this year different because you have a second bye week coming up? Do you like that, having the double, and just thoughts on the double bye situation now?
Yeah, I think it happens every 3 or 4 years. And I think it's a positive for us, you know, just because, you know, our schedule, the way it plays out is we play 11 really good teams. And so, you know, I think it'll help us. You know, we've got a really tough stretch coming off this bye week, and this gives us an opportunity to kind of catch our breath a little bit, get healthy, and then we got a tough stretch. You know, in between the 2 bye weeks, we got a tough stretch, and so we'll take it. I like it. I think the first one comes at a good time. The second one comes at a good time.
You know, how do you feel your wide receivers have done against man coverage?
Man, we won a bunch on Saturday. Yeah, we won a bunch. You know, like I said, Traylon Ray really got grabbed, I thought egregiously on the interception. That one sticks out to you as far as not winning, but it's hard when they got the back of your collar, you know. But we won a bunch. That's the best we've done against man coverage this year.
Coach, to clarify, when you were talking earlier about getting guys back, is Burks among that? Or?
We're hopeful. I know more about those situations take, you know, upwards of 5 days to kind of get a good picture where it's at. I would say hopeful right now. We'll see how he does.
Did you get a chance to talk to him? Did he give you an explanation of what happened?
No, you know, he just it was a injury that he took during a play, and it really didn't affect him until he was on the bench, and that's kind of when the situation occurred.
Is Jordan going to stay up in the box?
Yes, he'll stay up there.
How beneficial of the snaps they gave him?
Yeah, well, we really felt like after coming out of spring ball that he was going to be able to help us. And so when Eddie got hurt, you know, we were really planning on playing him and kind of easing him into it, and as his role would increase this year. But he got fast-tracked once Eddie got hurt, and I thought he did. He got one. He tried to play behind one block and it hurt us, but the rest of the plays he was positive. He was a real positive force. Like, he got good push. They gave us the ability to play Hammond into the boundary some more. And so he'll continue to play. I'm excited about him. I really am.
I mean, I know you don't get a chance to watch every single game. Outside of the Cincinnati-Houston game, every Big 12 game so far seems like it's come down to last quarter, last possession.
That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, that's what I mean. What makes a difference in those games? Composure, experience, love?
Well, I think there's a lot of different things. I think home field advantage matters in college football. So I think that's one thing that's pretty consistent. Not always the case, but it's pretty consistent. And then, and our league's going to be that way. And we got really, I think the coaching in this league is at a high end, and there's not a huge talent disparity as far as between 1 through 16. There's just not. And so games are going to come down to the end, and a lot of times it comes down to special teams, and it's really not who makes the big play; it's who doesn't have the big negative. And then your turnover margin is always going to be, and then I think the other indicator in our league is going to be who can run the ball. You know, it's a little bit different. You look at our game, but I think if you look at it over the course of the year, it's who can run the football.
A lot more gray hairs going around.
Well, I think everybody knows that. You know, I think if you read all 16 of them today, whoever's doing press conferences today, I think that's the expectation. You know, and I've said this a lot in our league. The good thing is you have an opportunity to win every game. Bad thing is you have an opportunity to lose every game. You know, and we essentially play 11 of those every year. You know, and so it's a tough league. And the talent is somewhat equal, and there's high level coaching, and there's some really experienced head coaches in the league too. Anybody else?